Hello friends, welcome to the first of many filter coffee videos on the Majestic Bean channel. Today what we're gonna do is just make a short video on how I prepare a V60 pour over coffee. We won't go too much into details. What I'll do today is show you which pieces of equipment you need, how coarse or how fine you should grind your coffee for a V60, and then just go through how I do it and how it's done. But that's about it. During this video series that we're gonna have in the future, we're gonna dive into filter coffee, and we're gonna go into more details as we progress. So that way it's not gonna be too overwhelming for you guys, and it also gives us a longer period of time to learn how to do it properly, because it's very easy to do this wrong. But first, if this is your first time watching our videos, welcome. We would really appreciate it if you subscribe to our channel. Also, if you have an extra dollar in your pocket, we would really appreciate it if you contributed to our PayPal link in the description below. That way you would be supporting our coffee project we have here, and that would be amazing. To start off this video, I'm gonna go through the equipment you would need to brew a V60 at home. First, and probably most importantly, you will need the V60 brewer itself. I have this plastic Hario V60 number 2, and the reason I chose the plastic one is because it's the cheapest. It doesn't cost a lot. I don't exactly know the price. I think it was around 16 Australian dollars, but apparently the plastic Hario V60 cone is also the best for another reason, and that is heat retention. It actually doesn't absorb any heat at all. So that means that the coffee and the water, while it's brewing, the heat stays inside instead of heating the cone itself. So that's a good thing. Next up, you'll need a carafe, but this is not really necessary. It just looks cool. It's kind of nice to have your brewed coffee being decanted or poured from another vessel instead of brewing directly in the cup. But it's still unnecessary, you know. So if you have the money to spend on that, be my guest. If not, you could just brew directly in your cup. Next up, you would need paper filters. What I have over here is number 2 Hario V60 filters. This is a bulk of 100 paper filters. They don't cost a lot. This is what you use basically. You fold it, you put it in the cone, and that's where the coffee goes and the water goes as well. So we need one of those. A brewing scale is very important as well. That way not only you weigh the coffee you make, but also you are timing the brew itself. You obviously need filter roasted coffee. What I'm using today is a Ethiopian Hunda Oli, roasted by Small Batch here in Melbourne. Very delicious coffee. I'm almost running out of it, so that tells you that it was perfect. Bought it 3 days ago. I'm almost running out. And my favorite mug, the 7 Seeds snake mug. This is my favorite. And we have the Fellow Stag pour over kettle for stovetop. This is also a nice opportunity for me to actually use this kettle for the first time on video for you guys to see how good it is. This kettle also has a temperature gauge on top with a little painted zone on top where it shows the perfect brewing temperature for pour over, which is between 92 and 98 degrees. But what I usually do is just use water off the boil, and that way I have consistent results every time. Over here, I have medium coarse ground coffee. I have 15 grams of coffee here. The recipe I use for V60 is 60 grams of coffee to a liter, just to make it easy. That's around 1 to 16 brewing ratio. So that means for 15 grams of coffee, I'm gonna use 250 grams of water. That way we're keeping things very simple. So it's 60 grams of coffee to a liter of water, and then you just do the maths after that. Make sure your water is off the boil. So what I'm gonna do now is pop it on the stove, wait for a couple of minutes, then come back and show you how it's done. Alrighty guys, so I have my water in the kettle hot, just off the boil. What I do now is I take the filter and just fold it like this along the edge, and then open it up. Give it a little crease here on the bottom and pop it right in. Then I take the kettle with the hot water and rinse the paper filter. Make sure you rinse all of its surface so it's wet, rinsed, so we get rid of any papery aftertaste in the water. I will use this water to also preheat my mug here that I'll put on the side so it's out of my way. This coffee here was ground on the Barista 270. This grinder has 1 shim in it, and the grind setting that I used is 25E, just in case you're looking for a reference number if you're using this particular grinder at home. Otherwise, it's just a medium coarse grind for anyone else using other grinders at home. Then what I'm gonna do is put everything on the scale, turn the scale on, and put the coffee in. Make sure you tear the scale, zero it out. Also, tap the cone so the coffee is nice and level inside. And after that, we're gonna start the first pour. I'm gonna put 2 times the amount of coffee that's inside as water. So that means if I have 15 grams of coffee, I will use 30 grams of water for the first pour. That's also called the bloom. So just before I start pouring, I start the timer and pour out 30 grams of water. Next thing I do is shake the cone so the coffee bed gets saturated and all the coffee grounds are wet. That should take around 30 seconds. After that, we're gonna start the second pour, and this will be the last pour. This is how I do a V60 at home. And what I'm trying to do here is get the coffee bed wet evenly all across the board using circular motion. And you can see the coffee is beginning to brew. I will pour until 250 grams. There we go, exactly 250 grams. Now I'm gonna take my little spoon here and just go along the edges, pushing all the coffee inside the brewing water, both clockwise and anti-clockwise. And that's it. Now just wait for all of the brewing liquid here to decant into the decanter on the bottom. The brewing process is finished once all the brewing liquid from the cone goes into the decanter below. And what you should end up with is a nice, even, flat bed of brewed coffee. inside the cone and some delicious coffee in the decanter. So you take this, pop the filter out and throw it in the bin. Bang. This goes for washing. Give it a rinse with hot water. Don't use soap because the soap will put a bit of an aftertaste on the cone. What I really recommend is stirring or swirling your coffee, your brewed coffee, before decanting. Maybe give it a smell. And then pour it in your favorite mug. Now, if you're wondering about the brewing time, it should take anywhere between 2.5 to 3.5 minutes. There is no right and wrong here. It's all about how the coffee tastes. So let's say the coffee tastes bitter, unpleasant, maybe ashy. That might happen because you've ground too fine. So next time, grind a bit coarser. And the opposite. If the coffee brewing time is below 2.5 minutes and it just tastes hollow and unpleasant, maybe grind a bit finer and see how you go next time. Obviously, in this video, we're not going into too many details. We're going to keep it short and simple. But as this series progresses along, we will go into more details and slowly develop our filter brewing game. Filter coffee is best enjoyed as it's cooling down, so that way you are enjoying the most out of the particular coffee you have brewed, and you're also getting that pleasant acidity from the coffee as well, the sweetness and overall balance of this cup. So what I'm gonna do is just leave it to cool down a bit and then come back to tell you what we're tasting. Now, I've left this cup of coffee to sit here for around 3 minutes. So now it's probably at its optimal temperature to drink as it's slowly cooling down. Just before I drink it, I'll give it another stir, just because when you leave coffee to sit for a while, it will start making sediment in the bottom. So you will have the heavier coffee in the bottom and the lighter coffee at the top. So by stirring it, you're also incorporating all of that stuff, so you get a nice balanced cup. Well, that's pretty good. So what I have here is an Ethiopian coffee, very well balanced, floral, juicy, sweet acidity. It's really delicious. It's very clean, no bitter aftertaste at all, which means that we've ground the coffee just fine enough so it extracts perfectly, but still coarse enough so it doesn't produce any bitter aftertaste. This also means that since the cup is delicious, the brewing ratio is good for this particular coffee as well. And the brewing ratio, as I said before, is 1:16. So overall, I'm very satisfied with this cup of coffee. As it cools down, it's gonna become even better tasting. But at the moment, as it is, it's pretty delicious as well. So to summarize what we did today, we had a basic V60 brewing tutorial. We used 15 grams of medium coarse ground coffee to 250 grams of water. We had a brewing time of 3 minutes and 15 seconds, and the result is pretty delicious. Now, if you have any thoughts about my way of brewing V60, let me know in the comments below. I would really appreciate other people's opinions about brewing filter coffee at home. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please press the like button. That way you're letting us know that you're enjoying this type of content. Also, if you have an extra dollar in your pocket, we have a PayPal link down below. and we would really appreciate every contribution from you guys, because that way you're supporting our channel and our coffee project. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.